Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to crack the code on financial mathematical techniques for the CIMA BA1 exam, so you can walk into that test with absolute confidence. Now, I know financial math can sometimes feel a bit, well, intimidating, but I promise you, by the end of our time together, you're going to see these formulas as your best friends. We're going to use clear, step-by-step visuals to make sure everything really sticks. So go ahead and grab your notebook and let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive right into the core question that drives literally all of financial mathematics. Think about this for a second. If I offered you $1,000 right now, today, or the exact same amount in exactly 1 year, which would you choose? I mean, almost everyone instinctively chooses today, right? But why is that? Well, there's a foundational business concept at play here called the time value of money. Money today is simply worth more. First of all, it's safer. A lot can happen in a year. Second, you get the immediate enjoyment or use of it. And third, and honestly, this is the most important one for us, you could put that money into a bank or an investment project right now and actually earn interest. If you stick it in a bank at a 6% interest rate, that $1,000 today becomes $1,060 next year. Because of this, future cash streams always have to be adjusted to reflect reality. So here is our quick roadmap for today. We are going to cover 1. Simple versus compound interest. 2. Compounding and discounting. 3. Appraising investments using NPV and IRR. 4. Annuities and perpetuities. And 5. We'll wrap it all up with a final exam recap. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, interest. Let's look at simple versus compound. Simple interest is, well, brilliantly straightforward. It's interest earned in equal amounts every single year. Why? Because it's calculated only on the original amount you invested, which we call the principal. The specific formula you need to know here is S equals X plus NRX. Let's break that down real quick. S is the final sum you get at the end. X is your original investment, N is the number of years, and R is the interest rate expressed as a decimal. So let's say a business invests $1 million at 10% simple interest for 3 years. They earn exactly $100,000 each year. After 3 years, that's 1 million plus 3 times 0.1 times 1 million, which gives us a total of $1.3 million. It's very linear and very predictable. Now let's move over to compound interest and see how this builds. Compound interest is significantly different, and honestly, it's much more common in the real world. Here, as interest is earned, it's actually added to your original investment, and then that new, larger total starts earning its own interest. It's literally interest on top of interest. The formula for this one is FV, or future value, equals PV, present value, multiplied by 1 plus R to the power of N. That little exponent N right there, that is the secret sauce that causes the magic of exponential growth. This example brilliantly illustrates the difference between the two. Let's say we put $1,000 in a bank for 3 years at 10%. Simple interest gives us exactly $100 a year, totaling $1,300. It's just a straight, flat line of growth. But with compound interest, sure, year 1 gives us $100, but in year 2, we get 10% on $1,100, and so on. So after 3 years, we actually have $1,331. Now, I know $31 might look like a pretty small difference early on, but if you stretch that timeline out to 10 or 20 years, like you would with a mortgage or retirement fund, compound interest pulls away massively. Moving right along to Section 2, compounding and discounting. This is all about moving money back and forth through time. So the absolutely crucial point to understand here is this. Discounting is simply compounding in reverse. If compounding tells us what today's money will be worth tomorrow, discounting tells us what tomorrow's money is worth today. Make sense? If a business knows a project is going to pay them $100 in a year, discounting is the process of converting that future cash into its present value in today's money. It automatically adjusts for things like inflation and lost interest. Let's look at the actual math for a second. The present value equals the future value divided by 1 plus R to the power of N. If you look closely, you'll see we're essentially just rearranging the compound interest formula we just learned. Now, that bit at the end, the 1 divided by 1 plus R to the power of N, that specific piece is called the discount factor. You just multiply your future cash flow by this discount factor to shrink it down to its present value. For example, if you know you're getting $100 next year and the interest rate is 10%, you just divide 100 by 1.10. That gives you $90.90. Basically, that means $90.90 today is mathematically exactly equal to $100 in a year at a 10% rate. Okay, listen up, because here is a massive exam tip for you. You absolutely do not need to manually calculate that complex discount factor formula every single time. No way. In your CIMA exam, you're going to be provided with discount factor tables. All you have to do is find the column for the interest rate, let's say 6%, and then find the row for the year, let's say year 4. And the table just flat out gives you the exact decimal to multiply by, which in this case is 0.792. Seriously, using these tables is a total game changer and will save you a tremendous amount of time on exam day. All right, Section 3, Appraising Investments Using NPV and IRR. Let's see how businesses actually use this stuff. The absolute king of investment appraisal is net present value, or NPV for short. The definition is super simple. It is the total sum of the present value of all your cash inflows minus the present value of all your cash outflows. By taking every single future cash flow and discounting it back to year 0, which is today, we can compare our costs and revenues fairly. Basically, NPV calculates the exact dollar change in an organization's wealth if it decides to go ahead and undertake a project. Let's actually walk step by step through a classic discounted cash flow schedule. Honestly, this is exactly how you should be laying out your workings in the exam to keep things straight. In year 0, which again is today, we are spending $1 million. The discount factor for today is always exactly 1, so the present value is a negative $1 million. Now, in year 1, we get an inflow of $600,000. We look at our 8% discount table for year 1 and find the factor 0.926. Multiply them together, and the present value is $555,600. We do the exact same thing for year 2, which gets us $514,200. Finally, the easy part. We just add up the entire present value column. Negative $1 million plus our 2 positive inflows gives us a net present value of a positive $69,800. So what do we actually do with that number? Well, the decision rules here are absolute, and you definitely need to memorize them. If the NPV is positive, you accept the project. Why? Because it means the project yields a return higher than your cost of capital, literally increasing the total wealth of the company. If the NPV is negative, you reject it because it would actively destroy company wealth. And keep this in the back of your mind for theory questions. NPV is widely considered the superior tool for project assessment. That's because it measures absolute wealth increase in real, actual dollar terms. Okay, let's dive into the main alternative method, the internal rate of return, or IRR. IRR evaluates investments a bit differently by calculating the percentage return that a project generates. Mathematically speaking, the IRR is defined as the exact discount rate where the project's net present value equals exactly 0. It's essentially your break-even discount rate. Now, non-financial managers absolutely love IRR. Why? Because it's just so much easier to understand a percentage, like, hey, this project yields 15%, rather than trying to explain an absolute dollar figure. The decision rules for IRR are actually very intuitive. You accept the project if the IRR is greater than your company's cost of capital. Think of it exactly like getting a bank loan. If it costs you 5% to borrow money, that's your cost of capital, and the project generates an IRR of 10%, obviously you do it, right? You're making a sweet 5% spread. On the flip side, you reject the project if the IRR is less than the cost of capital. You would literally never borrow money at 10% to invest in something yielding only 5%. You'd just be throwing money away. Section 4. Annuities and perpetuities. This is where we look at repeating cash flows. So a perpetuity is a continuous cash flow that lasts forever, literally to infinity. Now, instead of painstakingly discounting year 1, year 2, year 3, and so on forever, there is a brilliant mathematical shortcut formula. The discount factor to perpetuity is simply 1 divided by the cost of capital. That's it. So if you have a project that generates $40,000 every single year forever and investors expect an 8% return, you just divide 1 by 0.08. That gives you 12.5. Multiply your $40,000 cash flow by 12.5, and boom, your present value is $500,000. It's an incredibly powerful and super fast exam technique. And finally, Section 5, our final exam recap. Let's summarize and talk about some common pitfalls. Let's bring this all together, like a giant puzzle. We started off with the basic choice between simple and compound interest. Understanding how money grows led us directly into the twin mechanisms of financial math. Compounding, to move money forward into the future, and discounting, to bring future money backward to the present. And that discounting concept, that is exactly what powers our ultimate business decision tools, net present value, internal rate of return, and evaluating those repeating flows like annuities and perpetuities. It is all perfectly interconnected. Now, before you go, we need to guard against the most common pitfalls students face in the BA1 exam. First up, always read the question twice to see if it's asking for simple or compound interest, because they yield very different answers. Second, when you're setting up your NPV tables, please never forget that year zero initial investments are cash outflows. Make sure you punch them in as negative numbers in your calculator. Third, save your precious time by using the provided discount tables instead of the manual formula. And finally, if a theory question asks you to choose between NPV and IRR, remember that NPV is always the mathematically superior tool because it focuses on absolute wealth. And that really illustrates everything you need to know for financial mathematical techniques. If you master these core formulas, you are going to do incredibly well in your CIMA BA1 exam for sure. But think about this beyond just the exam context. Every major corporate merger, every single billion-dollar real estate deal, and every wildly successful startup relies on the exact same time value of money principles that you just learned today. You now have the mathematical tools to evaluate the future. So my final question to you is, what real-world project are you going to appraise first?